This is TWiT.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to TWiT, your tech hub for intelligent, thoughtful conversations. If you want to take your experience to the next level and support what we do here at TWiT, say goodbye to ads and say hello to Club TWiT. With Club TWiT, you unlock all our shows ad-free. You also get exclusive members-only content. We do a lot of great programming just for the club members. You also get behind-the-scenes access with our TWiT Plus bonus feed and live video streams while we're recording. And don't forget the fantastic members-only Discord. It's where passionate tech fans like you and me hang out, swap ideas, and connect directly with all of our hosts. It's my favorite social network. I think you'll like it too. Club TWiT. It's not just a subscription. It's how you support what we do and become part of the TWiT family. Your membership directly supports the network, helping us stay independent and keep making the shows you love. If you're ready to upgrade your tech podcast experience, head to twit.tv/clubtwit and join us today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the club. It's time. Hello, you clubbies, club members, all one and all. It is time for Stacey's Book Club. We don't do this nearly often enough. Every other month, but we want to give you time to read a book. So I guess that's fair. Every other month, we gather with Stacey Higginbotham. Let's say hello to Stacey Higginbotham and talk about a book that she nominates and you vote upon. Hello, Stacey.
Hello, everybody. And yay, we're talking about a memory
doing
called
it.
Empire.
Yay. Oh, look, you got a library book version.
I know. I'm so excited because usually I have a Kindle, but I had to get the print version. I was like, what is this even called? A book.
Yeah.
And it's by Arkady Martine.
Who is a woman.
Who's
That's
a woman.
pen name. Yep.
And she's a professor of Byzantium.
Yes, which maybe explains a little bit of the book. But before we get to the book, let's say hello to Joe Esposito on the lower
everybody.
left of the quadrant. Hello, Joe.
Happy Book Club Day.
Mm-hmm.
Great book.
And
Can't wait
somebody,
for that.
I don't think, Brandroid, you've been in the book club before, have you?
I have been lurking in the chat of the book club. I would say long-time listener, first-time caller.
So nice to have you. Do you want to say your real name or do you want to stick with your handle?
My real name's Brandon, so
Oh, well, that's pretty
Close enough.
straightforward.
that's where
Brandroid,
Brandroid
as we
comes
can
from.
tell, is a bit of a Star Trek fan. He's got a Spock watercolor, and he's got Riker and Data and Geordi and a whole bunch of. Look at that! Wow,
Got
that's
'em all.
great. Anyway, great to see you. Thank you, and thank you, Brandroid, for being a very active and regular member of our Club TWiT Discord. It's really nice to meet you in person after all this time. Where are you located?
I am here in sunny North Carolina.
Nice. We are in sunny North California.
And cloudy Western Washington.
As always. Jammer B, of course, is in our Discord. Shadow Wolf is on the stage, but is going to lurk. It's very nice to have you all. Oh, by the way, there is a pronunciation guide in the back of the book, says Spud You Like. So
Wait,
since you
really?
have the book, Stacey, I don't think I have the pronouncer because I have the Kindle version.
Okay,
Maybe
y'all,
I
though,
do.
it comes with
It's IPA pronunciation, so you have to know your IPA abbreviations.
yes, it gives you a lot of
Huh.
I
linguistic.
gave up on that. I just decided
Yeah.
to go with my internal mental pronunciation, and that's fine. Didn't hurt the story one bit.
Exactly. I'm like, so we'll all just kind of go with although Jammer B, I think, asked, I say imagio is how I've been saying.
So
the
there's no
memory
I in it. It's
technology.
imago.
Imago.
Or in the reader said imago.
Imago.
Imago. That's
Imago.
right. Imago,
Imago
which I
is what I
disagree
kind
with.
of
There
thought
is,
of.
and I don't know if it's related, but there is a form of psychotherapy, psychotherapeutic couples counseling dialogue called imago dialogue. And I don't know if Arkady knows that and did it or by accident or whatever. But the imago is actually the most interesting, if you ask me, most interesting part of this, philosophically anyway, this book. Who wants to take the reins and describe what an imago is?
Well, I don't know about Brandon, but I instantly had a Star Trek reference for what I thought this was, specifically a Deep
yes.
Space Nine character. Thank you, Brandon. Nerds
We're
unite.
thinking of the Trill. Yes.
Yes, I thought of Dax immediately. Brandon, I'm going to let you, since you're new here, do you want to explain Dax and what a Trill is for everybody?
Sure. So the Trill are a species, and they have what makes them unique is they have certain members of their species have a symbiotic relationship with these. They're sort of like worms that live pretty much forever. They live for centuries, and they transfer from host to host, and it's a way of preserving memory and history and culture. And it is very similar to the imago or imago machine, where the resulting entity is sort of a fusion between the two. Like, it's one person's physical body, but they have memories and impulses that carry over from the other partner of the symbiotic relationship and from other previous hosts. And there was a lot of interesting things in Star Trek and in this book as well regarding like the taboos of like how you interact with people that your previous host had interacted with.
There's a whole branch of psychotherapy dedicated to imago. In the glossary of the book, it says an ancestral live memory. And by the way, if you haven't read the book and you're going to read it, just put this on hold because we're going to spoil it for you. We haven't yet, but we're about to spoil it for you. And if you have read the book, okay. But these shows are always spoiler rich because you can't really talk about it without kind of spoiling it. So it's unlike the worm, the Star Trek worm. It is a piece of hardware. And that's important because later in the book, it gets transplanted from a dead person into a live person, and it's still functional. But it's, in theory, contains all of the memories of the person up to the point, and this is also important, the imago was created. So our hero, our heroine, has the imago. She is, as the book begins, as you know, she's about to be sent to the seat of the empire, the Tekalani Empire, as an ambassador from her little outpost.
Her space station
outpost. To replace the ambassador, she doesn't know why. There was just an urgent request that a new one be sent. So they had the imago of the previous ambassador, but it's 5 years old. It wasn't up to date. So they said, well, take this. They put it in her. She didn't really have time to integrate it. She didn't have time for the years of therapy that it normally would involve. She just got his personality, his memories put in there, and they're out of date. And so that's 15. That's right. Sorry, Jammer B. 15 years old. They're old. In fact, he'd only been, that's why I remember 5. He'd only been in Tekalani 5 years. So he didn't have the full range of experience. Furthermore, he didn't know so you could take the imago out of a living person. So it was his memories up to that point, but he continued to live on. And she doesn't know, as she's about to go, what transpired after, in that 15 years after that. Tekalanli. I don't know. Is that Tekalanli? Okay. That's what Wojo says. Tekalanli. All right. Pronunciation is important. The reason we spend so much time talking about it is because there's a lot of weird stuff in this book.
Well, so, okay, let's not call it weird. I think a good place to start. So I loved this book because I love thinking about culture and language. And the ambassador candidate, Mahit, who gets these memories implanted in her, she is like an expert speaker of the Tekalani language. Okay, my brain's like trying so hard to get there. Tekalani.
Yeah.
The language, they're like this tiny little spaceship who, because they developed this technology, they are still independent.
And in fact, it's a technology that Tekalani find appalling and repulsive.
Yes.
However, the emperor, who is about to die, really wants it so he can continue in his
to live forever.
clone. He's cloned himself 90% genetically the same. And he's hoping to implant an imago into this new clone. Yeah, I love this book too at first.
Okay, well, so here's what seems to be the big source of contention. I think of this as like, an exploration of culture and people and what makes a human in space. And people pick up this book and they think, oh my God, it's going to be action and space opera in space.
It's really a mystery.
And it's a mystery. And people complain
and a diplomatic mystery in a way too, right? It's about cultures.
Yeah, but I feel like it's an interesting Rorschach test for what you read science fiction for.
Right.
I think.
I agree.
Is it for the action or is it for the like, wow, this is so different. How do we behave when things are different? So I was curious about everyone's take on like. I'm
more like you, Stacey. I don't actually like space operas particularly, or I really don't like space battles. I like you. I like the ideas in science fiction, the mind stretching in science fiction. I do like cultures, alien cultures, and I think throwing in a little mystery is fantastic. I love Peter F. Hamilton's Greg Mandel stories because they were all mysteries. And so it's a kind of cross-genre thing. And I really enjoyed those and so I enjoyed this. The problem I had is it wasn't a great mystery.
Yes.
It wasn't even that mysterious. So I was expecting like more of a mystery. I think I had the same problem I have with J.K. Rowling where I don't know how I can describe this. Sometimes when you come up with novel names and ideas and stuff, they seem of a piece that your world building it is accurate and intact and perfect. And this felt, as the Harry Potter books did too, a little bit haphazard. For instance, the names in the Tekalani culture, everybody's name is a number and a noun. And the number has some importance, how low it is has some importance and so forth. And the noun has some importance. And it's supposed to be something organic, although there is a character, and I think this is a comedic part of it. There's somewhat comedic. There's a character, 36 all-terrain tundra vehicle.
It's kind of like Ford Prefect from the Hitchhiker's Guide.
And that was very funny. I thought that was very funny. But the naming convention kind of, to me, got in the way. Remember who 30 Larkspur is and all of these names were just, that bugged me a little bit. I guess it's a little bit better than just a random collection.
I had the opposite reaction. I adore the names in this book, like 15 Engine. It's a good thing I'm not having a kid soon because me and my wife would be going back and forth on naming this child 15 Engine. It's such a great name. Edge Shine of a Knife. Oh my God, that's poetry.
Well, see, that's good. Those are good because that's an honorific, not a name. And I did enjoy the honorifics. Yeah.
It was 19 Adzi, I guess. I don't know, but like all those names, I really like them. I guess for me, what I figured out for me personally as a reader early on was for the pronunciation and the foreign words or anything that was different, I just kind of jettisoned them once I knew the meaning. I just superimposed what it meant.
How did you pronounce this Wazwa cat?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't even bother. I just went, okay, Ix, got it. I mean this, and I'm just going to keep moving because I can't think phonetically that way. I can't figure words out. So I was more focused on, okay, I know what they mean. That's enough. I know this is a important person or a lower person. That's all you really need because this is palace intrigue. I mean, it's really the 3 M's: motivation, machinations, and manipulation. That's it. It's Tom Clancy in space. Okay,
Stacey, I like your comment in the Discord. Go ahead and repeat that if you would.
Wait, I'm down for, hold on, Joe's 3 M's. I'm loving this. Keep going.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, Joe. I thought, okay, go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, so that was the thing for me that appealed is, and I think it was smart not to make the culture too alien, because then you start getting lost in why is this person doing this? Plus you have to stack the alien themselves and their perceptions and motivations on top of an alien culture by keeping it basically, imagine the planet we're on, but take all the countries and throw them into space. It was just like, okay, I have a relationship with what's going on here. I know who's, self-involved and not. I understand who's going to be romantically involved and not. I thought of 3 Seagrass and 12 Azalea as the Mulder and Scully of the story, where it's like, okay, these two in another life, we're going to end up together, but murdered, dead, and, so it's not going to happen. But then Mahit is involved. We got a love triangle thing happening. All that stuff really worked for me. So I didn't mind the names. They're ridiculous to some degree. I think the all-terrain vehicle one, too, was made fun of by everybody to point out how stupid it was.
Right. It was, exactly.
But I fell in love with the names. The names were one of the things I loved most about this book. Because like I said, there were certain ones that I will never forget. Like 15 Engine, for some reason, that name is so awesome that I'm not going to ever be able to jettison it from my brain. And that's fine. It can live there forever. I'm okay with that.
It's going to be your next dog. My comment was, I sometimes felt reading the book that it felt like a D&D campaign where you spent all your time developing your characters and like the world, and then like the plot, you're kind of like, oh, we just went to the cave and found treasure. That was it.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. That was my only disappointment. I enjoyed reading it. And by the way, I both read and listened to it. I don't recommend the audiobook. The reader is, I said before the show began, sounds like a mommy reading a child's book to her child. So it's very much, not a lot of emotion put into it, but it helps with the pronunciation, I guess, as long as she's saying it right. Okay, Brandroid. What do you think? Which side are you on?
So a couple things. I know I'm in the minority because I actually looked at some of the reviews, but I actually enjoyed the narrator for Audible. I did find it. I thought it I thought the narration kind of fit the tone of the book. I don't think she would have been good if it was more action, pew pew, space battle stuff. But it was. The whole tone of the book was kind of soft and poetic generally, and so her narration really worked for me for that reason. I was definitely surprised because I listened to the first couple chapters before I looked at the actual written text, so I was a little bit surprised. I was like, oh, a Zwazwa cat. I guess that's how you spell that.
It's a counselor to the emperor. The closest counselor to the emperor is the Zwazwa cat.
Yeah. So overall, I liked it. I did think it was a bit slow, and I don't even know that I would say the plot was lacking, but it was there didn't really feel like there was an aha moment of like the mystery of like, right, oh, like this key piece of information suddenly makes the whole thing make sense. It was more just like it built up slowly, and by the time Mahit is either saying it or reflecting it in her own thoughts, you're like, well, yeah, I kind of figured that out already.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. I really liked the depictions of their culture and how everything was sort of centered on language and poetry, and how that's like what they prioritized, and it becomes how they express almost everything, not even just like the written things. It sounded like the way they physically designed things to like look like flower petals or things like that. Like everything was the attention to detail and the descriptions of their world really drew me in. And that is really what I enjoy most about sci-fi. Like the action stuff is nice sometimes, but the world building in this was really well done.
I feel the same way. Yeah. It might help to know that the author at the end of the book says, I began this book in the summer of 2014, 2 weeks into an intensive language course in modern Eastern Armenian. My head full of the shapes of words that weren't mine. So she's an expert in Byzantium. So she, I think she studies a kind of very different kind of culture and language. And so that kind of makes sense. Wojo says, there were two minor topics I wish the author could have gone into in more detail. One, I wish there had been more detail about why the word you was considered so intimate for common usage. I could talk about that a little bit. And two, on a lesser note, when you consider how Mahit dealt with new types of food she wasn't used to, I thought the food and poisons in this book were great, by the way, such as eating food derived from the flesh of an animal, for example. Right, because on Lisel, the space station, there are no animals. It's all synthesized food. Both of these seem to be important to the author, but they didn't get much mention or sense of importance. The you thing is actually from the author's study of languages, because unlike English, many languages have a formal you and an intimate you. And the use of them is, in some languages, French as an example, is very significant.
You have to get permission to tutoyer someone.
Exactly.
Which their user vous and tu.
Right. And so I think that's what was going on there, was she was emphasizing, and it's important for diplomacy. Remember, she's a diplomat. And so it's important for the diplomacy to use the proper you. And there's a number of places in this book where the sudden intimacy is surprising. Three Seagrass, her liaison, Tekalani, Tekalan, it falls in love with her. And so in almost instant intimacy. And in fact, Mahit kind of falls in love back. And then the emperor, it turns out the emperor's been having relationships with all the ambassadors. So it's interesting. I mean, I think this is probably more typical of science fiction written by women. Is that sexist to say than written by men?
No, I would call this a very feminine science. If we're going to put it, I would say this is more feminine in a lot of different ways,
right.
Including the incredible amount of introspection that happens.
Right. Yeah. Emotions and feelings and all of that is very important. And then, I did like the relationship between Three Seagrass. What did you call him? Mulder and Scully?
Mulder and Scully. Did I say Mulder and Scully? Did I actually?
No, I did.
Mulder and Scully.
No, I always do that.
I do that. So.
I never watched X-Files, so I only know who they are. I don't know so much about their
What a shame. What a great movie. What a great series. I'm watching it right now.
Too late.
God, I love them so much.
Classic.
Anyway.
Jammer B says he loves this reflection on the language disparity Mahit was dealing with. Quote, selfish wasn't how Mahit would have described it. She'd say barbaric if she was speaking a language where that would be an intelligible sequence of words to describe a Tekalani religious practice. Barbaric, not selfish.
There's one thing off of what Wojo said. I'm sorry, Leo. I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, I'll complete this thought because I think you need to know that this passage is referring to burial practices, which are very different in the two cultures. In Lisel, they burn the body and then eat the ashes, which I think the Tekalani, and as maybe we would consider barbaric, but she thinks it's selfish because they don't do that. In Tekalani, what do? I forgot. They've embalmed the ambassador, and he's never going to decay for years, which I think she thought was weird. And then she was worried about burning and eating his ashes, that it might contain toxic chemicals. I can't remember what they do in Tekalan with the bodies. But of course, in a space station, you can't bury anybody. And
there's this idea of colonialism woven throughout.
Oh, yes.
In terms of,
yes.
I mean, that's a perfect example there. I don't know how many cultures actually exist that eat the dead, but I mean, it is very common to look at somebody's culture that's different than yours and go and react with disgust before so.
Well, and she suppresses it well, right?
Yes.
She's a good ambassador. Let's say that.
Yes. I was like, she's super diplomatic about everything.
And furthermore, during all of this, she keeps hearing shocking information and has to kind of maintain an even strain. So she's quite good. And that's part of the mystery, is all the revelations. And eventually she has to get brain surgery in a back alley surgery. And she says, I guess I have to, because otherwise I won't be able to complete my diplomatic mission. It's like, oh, wow, that's dedication.
I feel like, is it even a science fiction book if you're not getting some sort of back alley brain or body modification surgery? It's so common. It's a common trope.
I thought of that.
It is.
This is a William Gibson thing. Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah, cyber surgery. You have to have it. One thing that was interesting that I felt like the book barely touched on, but to me is a fascinating, and I don't know if the sequel gets into it, is they were talking about with the device in her neck, because the person is present. There's even times where the person, Yiskander, I'm probably mispronouncing that, doesn't really matter. The other ambassador, the young one or the old one.
Yiskander,
Yiskander. Yeah. Can influence her actions, make her move, and then is in theory supposed to be a presence that's there all the time for advice and to kind of react, and is missing the young one goes offline for most of the book. But they kind of delve in, and when they're talking about the word you, it's when you get that device, and this is a thing that there, as Brandon was explaining, the Dax idea is you're not really that person anymore. That old version of you is now basically died because you're now a fusion of these two people. And the book kind of gets into it, little bits here and there, but that would be something that would be interesting. I could read a whole book about, well, what does it do to you? And that's, I assume, the psychotherapy and everything. But you are now functionally born as a new person with full memories. And what does that do to a person psychically? Because at some point you have to look in the mirror and you're there, but you're not there. And how much does that bleed together? Do they eventually become essentially one person? Because if you live with somebody long enough and they're in their head, they're in your head, isn't that the voice in your head all the time? Are there now two? What does that do? At one point,
Mahid has to order Iskander's imago to get out of her brain.
So I thought this was an awesome metaphor for like assimilation. Because if you think about, I mean, this is all about these two cultures coming together, right? Then they also have like the literal, like two people or two consciousnesses, memories coming. I don't know what to call them. Like, are they full entities? Who knows? Coming together and then creating something new. And then throughout the book and the fears they had, the Licelle have of getting gobbled up by the empire. So I just looked at that as like a really interesting metaphor for colonialism and assimilation into a larger, I don't know, entity. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. I have a migraine, so my thoughts are.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're working through it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that crazy?
No, I thought this. That's what I mean about. I wish there was a big chunk of the book around what that does to somebody, because I think you can read it as a metaphor or just a literal idea of what happens. Because there's a lot of people who want this idea of, oh, if I could, do something to my memory, if I could have an AI in my brain all the time, and it's like, well, okay. What would that eventually do to you? What would you become after that? Because so much of how we see the world in reality is our perception, our reactions, what we think is going on. And that's because a lot of the time in our world where there are no devices in the back of our head, we're self-contained. No matter how much you might ever talk to somebody else, spend your life with somebody else, they can never know what's going on inside of you. Your brain, your thoughts, your consciousness are your own. But this is a literal intrusion, even if it's willing, to that kind of personality, and it's going to change. And it's interesting to think, is that a better thing, or do you then lose some aspect of your individuality? Because that other person is there with their own motivations in this context. And how do you do that long term? Or is it not meant to be long term? I couldn't really get a read on whether this was meant to be the rest of your life. You have this thing and it will never come out, or not.
Have any of you read the second volume?
I was going to say, so in the second book, there's a little bit more exploration of this from a different perspective. So the end of this book, or it's kind of towards the end, it's a chunk of aliens happen, y'all. They come in and they start eating stations or ships or something. And in the next book, I'm not going to spoil the next book for you, but it's all about their fight, their encounter.
Because they left that kind of hanging in the first book. They just we know they're coming. We don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. And so that kind of takes it up a notch, or adds maybe a third perspective in there from the alien perspective. Good. So they do keep going in this kind of same vein. You get a lot of this still.
Somebody told me that he felt like the second volume was very different from the first. Did you feel that way?
I read them back to back. So to me, it was just kind of a continuation. Okay. So I probably just mushed them together in my brain.
I have it on hold at the library. So I do want to read it. And by the way, let me say that even though this is an imperfect book, it is absolutely engaging and fun to read. And I would not hesitate recommending it. It's really well worth it. It's just. I
think maybe I benefited by not reading anything about it, so I didn't expect action adventure at all. I didn't know what it was going to be, so there was no. I guess with some people that thing where they were expecting to be like space laser battles, which I'm fine with. But when it wasn't that, once I kind of figured out what it was, I was like, oh, okay, well, I like mystery stuff, and even if the mystery isn't all that intricate or tough to figure out, then I kind of figured out that I like the characters, therefore the mystery can be lesser because I like the characters. So you have to have some of these. if a mystery is lesser, you better have good characters. And luckily, this book does have good, interesting characters
Absolutely.
who interact really well.
And
that's
there is
probably what
interesting.
saves it.
There are interesting cultural and scientific details in this. I thought that it kind of reminded me of our last book, How to Win the Time War. The info fiche and the way they kind of had to be opened. These are messages and they're encrypted with poetry, poetic references. And then the food, as somebody mentioned, the food is really interesting, including the poisons, because there are at least 2 poisons in this book, are, I think, reminded me a lot of the eating and the message passing in This Is How You Win the Time War. So I thought this is a Stacey book.
So Amal El-Mutar, who co-wrote the book we read, she actually reviewed this in the New York Times. I think that was the reason I picked it up all the way back
sense.
in
There's a commonality, I feel like.
Yeah. So
I did not read any, by the way, Joe, I read no reviews either. I didn't.
I think it's because like the book itself, like the blurbs on the book are like a brilliant space opera. A thrillingly smart space opera. I guess the smart would be a clue, but so it is marketed a little bit.
And I understand that because for a general audience saying, well, it's like, I don't know, it's
not like anything
in space, or do you like old British BBC, mystery thrillers? Well, this one's great in space. It might be tough to get people in on that. So I get it. I understand the marketing part of it.
I think it's more about diplomacy than anything else, frankly. I think that's really interesting.
If I had to compare it, it feels kind of like The Expanse in the sense of like all the politicking, but it's a much slower, introspective. Like The Expanse, I'm thinking like The Expanse is kind of like Game of Thrones, is kind of like I don't know, House of Cards or West Wing or some sort of like political thriller. This is a little slower. I wouldn't recommend this to like a younger science fiction fan. Maybe I feel like maybe you have to be
bored.
Yeah.
So you maybe need more action for younger, I think, than this has. Even the kind of brief revolution at the end is still too small scale for what I think a younger reader would want. They would want some kind of, this isn't necessarily bad, they just want more action to it. And I think in that respect, if you're coming in for action, you will be disappointed because there's barely any, unless cutting words and sharp glances account for action, which for me they do. So that's fine. I was okay with that, but that's not for everybody. So
you're into the yearning. We've got a question from Shadow de Wolf.
Yeah, but I think Anthony has to put him into the restream. Why don't type it in, Shadow de Wolf, if that's your name, and we will ask it. Otherwise, Anthony can add you, and we can. I don't know if we can have more than 4 people. I don't even know what the capabilities of this. I guess we can. Look, we have all these buttons I can press.
We have all these buttons I can press.
I can make you little. I can make you big. I think we can get more.
Yeah, I'll send him.
Can you want to add Shadow de Wolf?
Yeah.
I will say, Stacey, so my touch point, and I don't know if Brandon, we've already talked about Dax, but I kept thinking about Deep Space Nine. I thought that the edge shine of the knife was Garrick to an extent. Like I was mapping, because I'm a huge nerd, so what else do you expect? But that was my thing where I'm like, because a lot of Deep Space Nine is politics.
It does remind me of that, yeah. And I didn't watch that show either, but I've seen enough of clips to know.
But there are very slow episodes where nothing happens but people talking. Also,
and it's on a space station, so that's kind of that.
Yeah, on the space station. But the Sandbaggers is a really good short-run British show about spycraft where almost nothing happens outside of offices. Oh, Stacey, you got to look the Sandbaggers up. The main guy in that is, you want to talk about somebody who could I-beam his way through steel. That Burnside is a great character. Yes, the Sandbaggers. I believe it went for 2 seasons. It is spectacular if you like this type of thing.
Nice.
And it's all Cold War politics, which I also quite enjoy. So it's purely that. It's great.
Nice. Okay, and that's on the BBC?
It's in lots of places now.
Is it in BritBox? BritBox probably has it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure it does.
I like BritBox.
Sorry, I didn't mean to detour into my Sandbaggers fandom, but it is a great show.
I feel like anybody who's here for book club probably is like, what else could I be reading or entertaining myself with at this
That's
time?
the whole point of it, right? Is for us to share our media.
Maybe don't recommend Stalker again, though, because that's real depressing.
No, that's very, very select audience.
Spud You Like says, anybody find the mention of microwaves for coffee making a bit jarring, a bit 20th century for something in the distant future? Yeah, do they still have microwaves, huh?
I mean, it's an efficient way to heat
It's good
anything.
technology.
Yeah, water-based.
They
still
could
use
have called it a
pencils.
radar range, and then it would have felt more sci-fi, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
once,
presumably they
They'll
still
use
have machines to heat food, and I mean, a microwave is a legitimate way to do that. You would think that would be safer on a space station than something
point.
with like a heating element.
Good point. Good. Yeah, she put
They
some
still use
energy into
grills
what a
with flames.
space station would do to make you different in from Tekalani, who are, on a planet.
they have whole planets.
And a lot of this, of course, is about Mahit, the ambassador's desire to stop the Tekalani from invading Lisel Station, because it's not yet a part of the Tekalani Empire, which is interesting because she spent her entire life as a scholar learning about Tekalan and loving it and learning the language. In fact, the reason she was chosen for as ambassador is because she was so steeped in Tekalani culture and language and scored so well.
I thought that was, I really enjoyed like her love of it and other people kind of looking a little askance at her love of it.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, oh, that feels like, I don't know. It feels very nerd coded to be like, oh yes, I get so deeply immersed in this.
I was a Chinese studies major in college and took the intensive language studies and fell in love with the culture. I kind of got it. I completely understood it. And unfortunately, the future, my future would have been as a diplomat in China. And so at the time. All right, now we got Shadow de Wolf. Shadow de Wolf is in here. I don't have an image from Shadow de Wolf, but maybe we hear your audio. Go ahead, Shadow. Yeah, maybe we don't have your audio yet. So
you think it's Shadow, not Mr. DeWolf?
Mr. DeWolf. Mr. DeWolf to you. Sandbaggers. Chocolate Milk Mini Sip is doing all the research on the sandbaggers. He found the Wikipedia article, and he says there are.
Thank you.
YouTube has episodes of the sandbaggers, which is interesting.
Oh, and someone's dialing in. I can hear it.
This is my darn Nixie clock. Something went bazooties, and for some reason it keeps doing a dial tone. I don't know why. 6 helicopter who shot 12 Azalea seemed very reactionary.
I was actually thinking. I was thinking about how, like, I read this in 2019 or maybe early 2020, and I skimmed through it again in prep for this, and I was like, oh my God, my perspective has changed, because I really thought of Texacolana as more like a Chinese, or kind of like a much more authoritarian, because they had an emperor, and because of the way, and there was a lot of like trappings of authoritarianism in terms of speeches and militaries and that sort of thing. And I am skimming through it now. I'm like, we could be the Texacolani or Tecacolan. Oh God.
Sure. We're imperialists. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of like was like a vibe shift in reading the book. I was like, oh my God, us.
It reminded me, actually, it's interesting you mentioned The Expanse, because it reminded me of the other James S.A. Corey book we just read. All of the complex ceremonial around and the hierarchies of the rulers and all of that was, I thought, really interesting. When the emperor appears at this party, he appears out of the ground in this kind of stage, emerges from the ground.
He's like David Blaine.
It was quite elaborate. And I thought that reminded me a lot of, I can't remember the other book that we read from James S.A. Corey, but it reminded me a lot of that kind of ceremony and pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, Brain Dredge, you're right. Yes. Protesting in the street, weaponizing law enforcement.
Oh,
that's the stuff that kicked. That was, I was like, ugh.
But it was also shocking that there was any revolt. Like she had seen it as kind of a peaceful empire, and the fact that it wasn't a peaceful empire, that there were,
which is part of why I found it so interesting and so kind of eerily reminiscent of the current news, is the different sides all have different narratives, and it is very much all about like an information war of like whose depiction of which side is going to be more widely believed, and basically using those optics to try to get the popular mob on your side.
There were a couple of the things I thought were missing. You didn't really understand why Iskander, the ambassador, why the emperor fell in love with. They had an affair, but he also had an affair with ads. I mean, it was a very.
I feel like the emperor was just like, I'm the emperor.
I can do whatever I want.
Sleep with whomever I would like.
But it wasn't well set up for me. It was like, okay, he was there for 15 years and somehow he got in with the emperor, and then the emperor fell in love with him. And then, I mean, I understood the tit for tat. The whole point of the book is that Iskander, the previous ambassador, had offered imago technology to the emperor so the emperor could preserve his.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if you're the diplomat of a tiny space station that's in danger of getting
you give him whatever you want.
You're like, hi, how can I infiltrate the emperor? Oh, are you perhaps interested? Sure.
He was very good at it. As it turns out, he was very good at it.
Surprisingly, yes.
Although it's kind of a bit of a plot hole, maybe, because if you think about it, they had a flashback scene where 19 ads asked Iskander, were you in bed with the emperor when you offered him immortality? And he realizes the answer was yes. So they were already having an intimate relationship before he offered that technology. And it does seem a little bit implausible considering this is a station. I think they said the population was like 30,000 people. And like their ambassador is literally in bed with the emperor of like multiple star systems. I don't know.
And then there's this.
I sort of rationalized it, because you have to at some point when things don't make sense. Is I figured, okay, the emperor was into Iskander because he was somebody from somewhere else. He was exotic. He was an exotic off-worlder. And I guess pick whoever the most handsome person you think is for a person. He looked like that, so it made sense. He was irresistible and exotic all rolled together.
He was the Pedro Pascal of Lizelle.
Sure. Like I said, you choose your own adventure there. I didn't offer anything because I figured everybody could fill in their blank. And then as far as 19 Adzi, I figured, well, the confidence, she just seems so smarter and like in control of everything that's going to be irresistible to a person in power to find somebody else that might be a peer. Also, her nickname is Ed Shine of the Knife. Really, who could resist? Let's be honest. Nobody. So it made sense to me once I kind of applied my own rationale to it, and I just went with it.
It's better than 8 Penknife, another one of the. Who was? Was 11 Conifer, right? Was that the one who was attempted to stab Mahit in the garden? And then, unaccountably, the reader gave him a Scottish accent. He was from Scotland, apparently.
Famously home to lots of conifers.
Lots of conifers. And then they spent some time with the clone, but the clone seemed to be a boy emperor, and he was really in love with the butterflies, and then he turns on Mahit, and none of it kind of really, that whole garden scene was like, didn't really hold together for me. It felt like it was a plot device more than an actual like she wanders off from the party and now she's in a garden and she meets the young emperor clone, and I don't know.
Again, my rationale for that was the only thing that made sense, because I agree, the clone just seems kind of there, unless it's to indicate that the reason he's so obsessed with getting this device is because he's aware that a clone isn't a clone the way that a lot of people think it is. It's not literally him again. It's literally just a physicality that has the same DNA up to a certain percentage. But the device would be him. It would be a forever version the way it's explained in this book. And even the benevolence, even though it's very misguided of, okay, everything's peaceful, only I can maintain this. That's an understandable kind of strongman mentality that nobody can do this as well as I can. Even though it's framed with peace in mind, we really don't know, since this is a expansionist empire that's trying to grab things. We know they've done it before. We see them doing it again. So even though he's saying I just want to maintain peace, I just need to stay in control so everything stays peaceful. Well, we have no reason to believe that that's actually true. There's nothing that cements that. Just because it's been, I think they say, 80 years of peace. Do you really want that to end? Only I can keep that going. So that part of it, I think that's what the clone is for, is to indicate that this is a person who at least understands that a clone is not the Farscape 2 Crichton's version of a clone. There's another nerd one for you, everybody. It's not that version of a clone. It's what a clone would actually be. Just a recreated DNA version of you that might hate you the minute it grew up old enough to understand you. So that's how I put it together.
I didn't have a hard time with, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's the emperor of a big empire. He wants to live forever. And this is the closest way he could get to do this. And also, if you stick like an 80-year-old fully formed person in the body of a young clone of you,
you're going to win.
Yeah. I was like, you probably have the presence of mind to take over. And so that's, I don't know.
What's not clear though, is if this is kind of part of the Bobaverse too, which I know you hated, but it was that whole issue of, well, is that clone really you? In other words, do you have any continuity of memory, or is it just, I can't imagine you do. Otherwise, having an imago of a living person would be an issue.
Well, there's that, oh God, the Japanese author, there's a book, we've read it.
Oh, Clara and the Sun?
No,
not Clara and the Sun. Okay, I'm going to go look it up.
Yeah.
Leo, what I thought was the only way this would work is if you put that device in when that child was so young that they couldn't have formed a personality, and you just completely take them over at 4 years old. And just that's it.
But is it immortality, or is it just a continuity of your...
Well, I think the emperor, and it sounded like the default assumption from most of the Tekalani people who heard about it. I mean, they kept calling it an immortality machine,
right?
And she kept being like, "That's not really how it works."
What it is. Yes,
but I think they all wanted it to be that, and especially the emperor. And I mean, and he said, yeah, this is about preserving peace. But I mean, I think like a lot of powerful people, the reality is he wanted to live forever and thought he had found the means to do it, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen.
Yeah, the book is Never Let Me Go, and it's by the same author. It's by
Ishiguro
Kazuo Ishiguro. I'm like, Stacey and names, it's terrible.
Jammer B says something really interesting. He says, and we're talking about this garden scene where he meets the clone who's 8 or 9, and they're talking about the butterflies, and the clone says, and they can do it without even touching you, which I think means feed from your hand, right? Why is that important, Jammer B? He's very deep. He's figured out something there.
She referenced that at the end. Mahit, in her internal monologue, referenced that again at the end when they were moving the boy emperor around, and like his guards were like floating around him, and they were basically moving him along without
even touching him. Okay,
I think that's.
I think that must be it. Yeah.
That I also agree with you, Leo, that that garden scene, it felt a little disjointed. It felt a little out of place, but there were a few things I highlighted in the book, and I highlighted a line from that, which I thought was sort of metaphorical for the concept of empire in general. And it's as she's wandering by herself and she sees all of these birds flying around. And she says, even as she walked further into the strange, dim sanctuary of it, she peered upward, trying to understand how the birds didn't fly up the funnel and escape into the vaulted Tekalani sky. It was surely warm enough out there for them, though not nearly as sweet. Not so many red flowers all at once. Perhaps succor was enough to keep a whole population trapped willingly.
Huh.
And that to me kind of feels like sort of the predicament that LaSalle Station is in, where they have this relationship with the Empire, and they're sort of trapped, but they're also kind of staying by choice, and they're getting benefits, but they're definitely, basically captive in that sphere of influence.
I agree with Jammer B about the changing minds without touching as well. That was my read of it too, Jammer. I thought the same thing. That without touching you meant that there was so much, again, the manipulation idea of ideas and what's right, what's wrong. It's a propaganda war in many ways.
Which is, I mean, that's what assimilation is all about in a lot of ways. And we can argue how far you should go and how much of yourself you should keep, but which is why I think this book is so interesting, because I think Mahit is a great example of like loving the empire, but slowly realizing that like, oh yeah, if I love this too much, I could become all encompassed or could engulf us all.
And see, Stacey, I agree. That's why I was waiting for a scene where she and three Seagrass were going back and forth about the device, where she could be saying, well, you guys are colonials, you're taking over things. And Seagrass's response could be, well, you've let somebody invade your mind. How much individuality will you have left? This is no different. It's fine for you. Why isn't it fine for us? Like, why is it any less of a blasphemy for us to take things over if we think that we can make them better? You have this thing implanted that in theory is supposed to make you better at what you're doing, but are you you anymore? Again, the idea of you. So I was waiting for that. That's the one scene I was like, oh, we never got that. And maybe it would come later or may come later. But that's an interesting philosophical debate as far as, well, who gets to be colonial and in what sphere? Mental and physical, is there really a difference?
It would be interesting to have like a second generation, like immigrant person on the call, like just to, because I know that my friends who are second generation, like they debate this a lot, and the debate changes as they age. So it's kind of fun.
Well, it really is interesting how Mahit has fantasies about what Te Kalan is until she gets there. And then it's very different. It gets really fleshed out and it's something very different. There was another plot hole, now that I think about it, why did 19 ads take her in under her wing and prison her in effect, then protect her?
Wasn't the idea that she was going back and forth on killing her?
Yeah, she was going to kill her. She, in fact, didn't stop the emperor, or not the emperor, the other guy from killing the emperor's Zwazu cat from killing her predecessor, Iskander. She stood in the door and watched. And then she seems like she was either involved in the poisoning of Mahit or just going to let it happen. Then it changed her mind and cleaned her up. None of that. I didn't really understand what was 19 Ads' interest in Mahit all along. Was it because what?
I felt like it was because of the imago machine that 19 Ads knew the emperor was going to try to use it if he possibly could, and to her it was abhorrent and it was probably not going to work out the way that the emperor thought it would. I think she intuitively understood that this is not going to be immortality, this is not going to be the same person, and that's why she let Iskander be killed. And I think maybe she wanted to keep an eye on Mahit to see if she was going to do the same thing.
Well, maybe it wasn't even Mahit she was interested in, but just what was in her brainstem.
Well, yeah, and presumably
she's really kidnapping the imago, the one imago on Te Kalan.
She would think that basically Iskander had come back in that body. That would be 19 Ad's assumption because she knows about the imago machines.
Right. You also didn't really understand. I didn't understand why Seagrass was like so. Maybe she just fell in love with her, right? But she was so much on Mahit's side and so not on her nation's side, even though that was her job.
I think I think a couple of times she referenced like the thrill of doing things like that. But she liked barbarians.
She liked barbarians. That's right. Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, this is different, and it's different and exciting, which is. That's a very natural impulse. There's this idea of somebody who's exotic is automatically more appealing, and then fortunately he turned out not to be a monster, so it could keep going.
Right.
So that was how I read it.
Yeah. Well, you know what, the book was deep enough to stimulate some speculation, some thought. Didn't answer all the questions.
Lots of good, great discussion, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to have y'all. It's time
to wrap it up and come up with some nominations for next time.
Okay, Leo, I'm going to give you one nomination, as I always do, for you. And then let me pull up my tabs with the other. Okay. One, it's the beginning of a trilogy, but it's finished. So don't be mad at me. It's kind of an older book, but it's good. Nine Fox Gambit by Yoon Ha Lee.
And was this one for me?
No, you get to choose. You get to choose a book.
Right.
You can throw in one of your old people.
Oh no, I'm
books.
not going to throw in any old crappy male dominated sci-fi. No, that's not me. Never again.
It's a space opera. It does have some politics in it. And it's good. I really enjoyed this book. I don't know how else to, I just don't know how to describe it.
Nine Fox Gambit by Yoon Ha Lee. Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. And then let me pull up this next one. It's been a while since we read a dystopian climate change book.
Not long enough, but okay.
That's like all you can find in the world right now.
Yeah. It's really interesting how the zeitgeist of the modern times really impacts the creations, the cultural books, movies, music, especially movies. Man, all the movies are dystopian horror films or comic books.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with something that was less, in a challenge because we're not like super, what's it called? Fantasy focused.
Yeah, we can do fantasy though. I've said this many times. I'm not against it.
Our name. That's not in the name.
It's not in the name, huh?
We don't do it. Okay. And I couldn't remember. Oh, I didn't tell you the name of the book. Sorry. Let me go back to that.
We're still with Nine Fox Gambit. Okay.
You're like, Stacey, focus. Yes. This is Osiris by E.J. Swift. This is a city. So the climate has destroyed everything. This is a city. How do you get into the city? Where do people it's again, part of a trilogy. So, and then the other one, I had it up here. I'm going to find it. I've been reading a lot of spy books lately. So I'm like, I haven't been sci-fiing. So now let me, or Leo, do you have one?
No. Okay. I was going to mention, I'm reading something that isn't really sci-fi. I don't even know what it is yet because I haven't finished it. It's kind of mysterious and spooky. It might be Stephen King-like. It's called 14. There's a second book of it called The Fold. Have you read that, Joe?
I've heard of it. I have to get to it, but I've seen it.
It's really interesting. But I'm not sure I would recommend it for the sci-fi book club. It might be sci-fi. I don't know yet because the premise is this guy it's kind of a mix of body double meets I don't know, The Shining. A guy moves into an old building in Los Angeles. He gets really cheap rent, but there are some strange mysteries about this building. He meets the other residents of this building and they start investigating, and there's stuff written in the walls. There's a room where everybody who's ever lived there has killed themselves. There's a room where the wall is really cold. And for some reason, there's green cockroaches with 5 legs on one side and 4 on the other. And I don't know yet why that is. And so it could either be a horror novel, a ghost novel, or a sci-fi novel. I don't know.
Oh, I know why I can't find it, because I closed that tab because I have it in my library.
Oh,
that's
good.
Where it is. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I've posted, by the way, EJ Swift's website, but it does point to her all of her books. But in there is Osiris is one of the books. I'm just putting this in the Discord as we go.
This is called The Heist of Hollow London by Eddie Robson.
This is not another cozy mystery, is it?
No, this is about clones.
Eddie, what's his last name?
Eddie
Robson.
Robson.
Okay.
So they're clones of business executives made. So the idea is
that's funny.
If you're a bigwig, you get a clone made of you, so you're too big to fail, basically.
Oh, this might be timely. But then
the company that manages it, they go bankrupt, and this is like, oh my gosh, what happens? So it's
So this is a stealth IoT persistence of service book. I got it. I know what this is actually about. Yep. I
The
know what
caveat,
it's
y'all,
metaphors.
is it sounded really interesting to me. So I put it on. So I haven't read it yet. I literally just got it. I just downloaded it yesterday. So there is.
This looks good.
There is
In
that.
games of betrayal, everyone loses.
So I feel bad being like, hey, I think this might be worth start writing, or reading.
You haven't read it
It's
yet.
I haven't read it yet. So
Arlo
That's
and
a
Drian
nice
are
book cover.
maids,
That is
clones
good.
of
Isn't it a
company.
nice book cover?
It's really good.
It really is.
Deemed important enough to be saved. It looks like a Hitchcock. It looks like what's it that those
Yeah, like Saul
great-
Bass.
Saul Bass. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, I don't know. So I don't want to. You're going to vote. That's the whole point. We're not.
Everyone gets to vote.
Yep.
Dystopian climate fiction. Capitalistic dystopianism cloning, and what was the other one? Oh, space opera, war against different aliens.
This really points up the various categories that we we go for in this. We will put. So here's what we do. Anthony's going to turn that into a poll, which you'll put in the Club TWiT Discord. Of course, this is for club members, and you can vote. And we'll give you a couple of weeks to choose the next book, and then a couple of months to read it, because we all have many books on our nightstands. And
Okay. Here's a good Nine Fox Gambit overview. This military sci-fi space fantasy combines space battles, calendrical mathematics, and the revival of an undead general in a shadowy astral form.
Calendrical
Ooh, that sounds great.
mathematics.
Yeah. Calendrical mathematics was sold.
What?
I'm on board now.
Is this a leap year?
I've just given you the blurb that is right there.
That's good.
So
That's pretty funny,
I will
actually.
say, yeah, it won a Hugo.
Okay,
in the Nebula
I'm
Award.
always going for the Hugo Award winners. Memory Called Empire and the sequel both won Hugos, which is pretty good.
Yeah. And let's see, we've actually read many Hugo books. I mean, we had
That's a good
ton of-
that's a good kind of metric, if you ask me, for
unless we're choosing from the Hugo of, what was it, 2 years ago, where China infiltrated No, we're not going to talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. So there you go.
Okay.
Anthony's Anthony's fast, or is it AI Leo who's fast? What should we read for the next Stacey's Book Club? Nine Fox Gambit by Yoon Ha Lee, Osiris by E.J. Swift, or The Heist of Hollow London by Eddie Robson. 2 weeks to vote. You get to vote once. Right now it's tied. It's 1-1, which is hysterical. But that's because only 3 people voted. You all get to vote. If you're not a member of Club TWiT, you don't get to vote, but you should be a member of Club TWiT, shouldn't you? Yes, you should. So go to twit.tv/Club TWiT and join. This is the famous Stacey Gasp. What's Stacey?
You guys, I'm going to have to read this book, and maybe it'll be one of our other ones. Oh my gosh. This Ocean's 11 meets The Expanse is the tagline. So
that's pretty good.
Boom.
Is
All right,
Sammy
so I'm gonna
Davis
read that.
Jr. in it? Okay.
No.
Yeah, original or remake?
Yeah, which Ocean's 11? If Sinatra's
okay.
in it, I'm in.
Sorry. Once I start opening my book lists, then terrible
So
things happen.
usually you pick books you've read. In this case, you have not read The Heist of Hollow London, but you've read the other 2.
Yes. And The Heist of Hollow London literally just came out. I think it's like the end of September. But
Let's get your votes, kids. This is a
so
great.
I'm sorry that I
part of
haven't
the-
read it, but it looked really good.
No, this is fun. This is a part of it.
And I think it's a debut.
Yeah.
So
I think this was Arkady Martine's first novel as well. That may explain some of the
I think
structural issues with it.
I feel like I think it's her first sci-fi novel.
Oh, maybe. She says
Good start.
she thanks her thesis advisor for allowing her to write this book when she should have been writing her dissertation on Byzantium. So I don't know. I mean, she started really young, maybe. Anyway, yeah. I enjoyed this one. Thank you, Stacey. A very good choice. And I'm going to read the second one. So that's a good sign too.
Yeah.
And now we have 3 more. Thank you, Stacey Higginbotham. She is the greatest, and we're glad we can keep you on the air in some form or fashion, even if it's only every other month. We really appreciate it. And thanks for the good work you do. Very important work you do at Consumer Reports, of which this does not represent any.
I was. They may be aware that I do this. They wouldn't have a thing against it, but
I think they must like us because we've got 3 of you now on the show.
Yes.
So I think they must think we're okay. Maybe because
Yeah.
Craig Newmark is on the board. I don't know, but we're glad.
Paris just published, our protein powder
Yes,
story was
it's
all Paris.
picked up by the Times, the Washington Post. Although Paris says she was much more excited about it getting picked up on some memes about
Like
it.
I saw people talking about it on TikTok, and I was like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
"We have
exactly.
arrived."
Big story. Anyway, yeah, she's great, and you're great, and we're so glad to see you. And I hope your head feels better soon.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. You can always cancel if you're not up for it on the day of. You could say, I don't want to do it. Thanks too to Brandroid joining us for the first time. It's really great to see you. Great to have you. Come back again. I'm sorry, Spud DeWolf, we weren't able to get that working, but get your microphone working and we'll get you on next time. And of course, Joe Esposito, who is always a great contributor in our shows and does those great illustrations that you have seen many times in the Club TWiT Discord.
My child has the stickers, some of the stickers on their MacBook.
Oh, good.
That is
Great.
a pretty.
I love
That is a
hearing
pretty
that.
good
I love
endorsement. Yeah, my mom. Yeah. She's a sticker. Does she have the big book of waffles?
No, I don't think that was part of the sticker set that y'all made. But
No, it wasn't.
that is
That was
excellent.
a later one.
It might have been this one. Hello, book club. Welcome to the Staceyocracy.
I think
love
it's the
that.
one where I'm like ringing a bell and saying it's like I'm bougie or this is not Stacey approved.
Oh,
or
yes.
something.
I remember that one. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many good ones. He does it all with Photoshop, folks. No AI.
No.
No AI. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We love doing this. A special thanks to Anthony Nielsen, who really is the backbone of this. He puts all the work in and gets us all together, puts the polls together, and produces the show. Thank you, Anthony, for that hard work that you do. And thank you to our Club TWiT members who make all of this possible. Again, twit.tv/Club TWiT. If you're watching this, if you're watching the bootleg version of this and you're not a member, support it. There was no ads in here. We didn't even put Amazon reference links in here. We just, no associate links, no money to be made. It's all because of the club. So thank you, Club TWiT members.
I did advertise my library.
You did?
It's okay. Libraries are
I
awesome.
said it's a library
We should
book.
all-
Oh, just generic library. Yeah, well, I did too. Although my copy, audiobook copy of this came from the Sonoma County Public Library. That's a
Everybody
great
should
thing.
advertise their libraries. Libraries are
I can shout
amazing.
out the Kitsap
Great.
County Library and their awesome summer reading program, which gets me a free shirt that says, ready? Reading is shrimply awesome. And it's a picture of a shrimp.
I hope it's not radioactive shrimp.
Yeah. It's not glowing green shrimp, is it?
Yes. Thanks to the library. In fact, consider for almost always these books, you can get them at your public library. Get the Libby app if you don't have that. There are a couple. There's another one. I can't remember the name of it.
Overdrive, one of them?
Overdrive. That's it.
Yeah.
But check with your local library. In most cases, a library card's free. And in many cases, they have audiobooks. That's how I listened to this one, which made me happy because I didn't have to give Amazon any money at all for this book. And if you do want to buy the books, audiobooks, I recommend Libro.fm, which supports your local bookstore when you purchase from them. That's where I get my books as well. Thank you, everybody. See, we do have advertisers. They just don't give us any money.
Give us books.
And we'll see you in a couple of months for perhaps a locked room mystery in a near future world of politics and alien diplomacy, or maybe some calendar math. We don't know, but we will see you next time on Stacey's Book Club. Bye-bye.